Hey friends, peace. Andy Warhol here, and I am here to tell you about my spectacular style of art called pop art. I was born in the 1920s, and I created artwork all through the 50s and the 60s and the 70s. My style was super popular, dude. And it's not just because it was popular that we called it pop art. It's because it was what I drew was popular things that were big in our culture. You know what pop culture is? Pop culture is what young people think is cool. So the whole world actually revolves around what young people think is cool. So you're really important in this world. Anyway, let's get back to my art style, pop art. I thought art was getting a little ridiculous in the 50s, and I was really sick about interpreting everything and hearing about how this line was supposed to mean this, and this dot was supposed to mean all this crazy whacked out stuff, dude. I just wanted to draw a picture of a Campbell's soup can, so I did. I did a whole bunch of them. And when they asked me, why did you draw 100 cans of soup? I said, I like soup. People thought it was funny. People thought it was unique. Before you know it, I'm famous. And everybody wants me to do a pop art painting of them. So I was really, really well known for creating pop art portraits of famous people in the world because they're the popular ones. I invented a style of artwork, I actually mastered it, called silk screening, where I actually used a silk screen machine to create my works of art and make it like prints. So when there was a mistake or something, I couldn't fix it. So if I were doing a picture of some famous person like Marilyn Monroe, I would leave, when I did it, if it wasn't perfect, I would leave the mistakes in it because I think mistakes show that people aren't perfect. Things aren't perfect, people aren't perfect, but there's beauty in everything. So what's really important to know about my pop art style is that I like to repeat the same thing over and over and over and over. If I drew one Marilyn Monroe, then I drew 100 of them. And I also would fill in each different picture with a different color. So my artwork is kind of like a whole bunch of the same thing over and over and over with bright neon cool colors. That's what pop art is. I invented it, and I want you to have a chance to try it out. So your teacher's going to show you what we're going to do to create pop art, probably just as cool as mine, dude. Peace out, Andy Warhol.
Let's create our own pop art. First of all, we need to choose something that we're going to draw, and we need to make sure that we have a paper that is broken up into equal sections so that we can draw that object repeatedly on the paper. You need 2 pieces of paper for this. Set the first one aside, and in the first square, you are going to draw your object. I am going to do a pop art portrait, but again, you can draw anything that's popular in today's culture. So if you choose to draw a tennis shoe, you can draw a tennis shoe. Maybe a favorite cartoon character, whatever you choose to draw, just draw it really well in one of the squares. I'm drawing a portrait. So I'm going to follow the guidelines that I always teach you in drawing a portrait, and I need to section off the face to make sure that my eyes and my nose and my mouth are all in the right spot. After I have it all nice and organized, I am going to trace over my pencil line with a black Sharpie. neatly, I'm going to create a nice, thick black line that redraws all of the features. Andy Warhol's pop art mostly was all outlined in black. The black line is a very important part of his artwork. So if you don't have a drawing tool that you can do a large, thick black line in, you may want to choose to do a different project today until you have one. Here's my finished, nice, neat drawing, and I'm going to need to transfer it onto my final paper. The best way to trace something is to use the light of a window. So here I taped my image onto the window, and I'm going to trace it into each one of my 4 squares because pop art usually has a repetitive image in the artwork. My image that is going to be repetitive is going to be my portrait. So I'm going to take my time and I'm going to trace the image that I drew onto each section of my final paper with a nice thick black line. This takes a little bit of time. Make sure that you are neat and do not draw on your parents' window with the black Sharpie. After I'm finished and I have it done in all 4 squares, I'm going to just make sure that that black line is really, really thick. And I'm going to come in and make it as thick as I can without ruining the drawing. So here I will enhance it all to make the black line a nice, thick, dark black line. And then I could fill it in any way I want with color. I should use lots of bright different colors and make each of the 4 squares look unique and colorful. When I look at an example of Andy Warhol's artwork, of his repetitive portraits, I can see that I don't have to color within each section. My lips don't have to be perfectly neatly colored. I can kind of just color a blob of color around it. Or I can just fill each section with circle or squares, sections of color. As you'll see, the one in the bottom right-hand corner, I will do that one a little bit different so you can see what I mean about the different styles. So here's an example of Andy Warhol's Marilyn Monroe's on the left, and I'm going to look at that and just color mine and fill it with color on the right. Look at the one in the lower right-hand corner. I'm not staying in the lines, I'm just filling it. That's definitely an option. I'm going to just try to go through and do each one, color very neatly, coloring in one direction and staying as neat as possible. And when I'm finished, I will have a bold, colorful work of art, just like pop art, that has something popular in it, or an image of a person. This is a portrait. And it'll look gorgeous, colorful, neat, and you could have some fun with it. So here's my pop art portrait. You should do the same or choose something that is popular in our culture today. Because after all, pop culture is what young people think is cool. So if you think it's cool, hey, who am I to tell you different just because I am an old lady? Have fun.